Well, US lawmaker Tom Malinowski has been a proponent of sanctions against China. I want to get his reaction now to CNN's exclusive report. Thanks for joining us. You will have seen our report, Amnesty International releasing a report stating that thousands of Uyghur families are being forcibly split up in Xinjiang and children being prevented from leaving the region to be with their parents. We brought you our extensive reporting to our viewers from my colleague David Corver just before the break. Your response to that reporting?
I found it heartbreaking, but unfortunately not surprising. We've known for some years now that the Chinese government is engaged in an effort to essentially eradicate the Uyghur culture, to make everything that is unique about the identity of the Uyghur people, to make it disappear because it threatens their conception of a unified country under Communist Party rule. And the effect that it has on individual families is sometimes lost because the numbers of people affected are so great. We hear about hundreds of thousands of people locked up in camps, and that's a number. And what you've done is to put a face and a name to the victims. I think that's incredibly important for your viewers to see.
The US, EU and Canada, also the UK, introducing sanctions on several Chinese officials over human rights violations in the region of Xinjiang. I should note that the Chinese Communist Party has been accused of committing genocide there by human rights experts, the Dutch and Canadian parliaments, and also the outgoing Trump administration. Now, look, these sanctions are the first multinational effort to punish Beijing since Joe Biden took office. The question is, will this move or these moves actually have a meaningful impact on the Chinese government or on its actions in Xinjiang?
So here's what's really significant about this action, that it was done by the United States, the European Union, Canada, the United Kingdom together. This is something that we've not been able to muster in the past, a joint international response holding specific Chinese officials accountable for these crimes. The Chinese diplomacy is all about splitting us from our allies. It's about isolating their critics and then putting pressure on those isolated critics. So I do think that this is something that will cause significant concern in Beijing, that for the first time, all of the leading democracies of the world, or many of them, have come together to make this statement. And then, I would say the important thing here is also that we are trying to win an argument with the Chinese Communist Party. It is very difficult to change the policies of a powerful country like China. But imagine what the world would be like if we just watched this and did absolutely nothing. If we allowed China's actions to become the new normal in the world. We're trying to win an argument about what is right and what is wrong, what is acceptable and what is not on the international stage. The genocide is not acceptable. Whether we affect China's actions or not, I hope we do, but it's essential to establish for everybody in the world that this is wrong.
President Biden has made it absolutely clear that containing China's aggressive rise is his top foreign policy goal. The first meeting between his administration and Chinese officials last week in Alaska underscored that the two countries, quite frankly, are engaged in an ideological power struggle over issues like trade and human rights. Now, look, since the Nixon era, the US has had a policy of engagement with China, meaning consistent dialogue in areas of mutual interest. I wonder whether at this stage you believe that that is clearly no longer the case. And if so, can you talk me through what the new strategy is as you understand it, sir?
Sure. So I would not phrase it as an effort to curb China's rise. The problem is not China. There's nothing wrong with China or the Chinese people or the Chinese nation. What this is about is defense of international standards and norms, of rules that should apply to every single country. We're not standing up against China. We are standing up for human rights. We are standing up for fair trading rules. We are standing up for state sovereignty and the law of the sea and the rule that big countries cannot just steal territory from others because they are bigger. It's about standing up for principles that the Chinese Communist Party is challenging. And I think that's the difference between Joe Biden's approach and Donald Trump's. Trump's was more anti-China, which is no way to win the support of the Chinese people or the people of the rest of the world. Biden's approach is more standing up for universal international norms and bringing democratic countries together in that effort. These sanctions related to what's happening in Xinjiang are an early sign that what Biden is doing is working, that he is building an international coalition.
I could talk about this all evening with you, sir, but I have got other things that are important, although I have to say this is absolutely top of our priority list at present. It is extremely important, and I do appreciate your time this evening. Perhaps we will talk again as we continue to watch this space. Thank you. My colleague, Christian.